Hey guys, it's Libby, and today I'm here to talk about my experiences with therapy. I have gone to therapy on and off for the last 8 to 10 years, and I've had some pretty crazy experiences with it, so I wanted to share it with you guys because, well, at the time it was not funny. Now I look back and I'm like, wow, that's ridiculous, LOL, you know what I mean? So yeah, I want to start off this video by saying, although I've had quite a few bad experiences with therapy, I do not think therapy is bad. I think therapy can be an incredible tool to help you get through whatever you're going through. I also want to mention that today's video is sponsored by BetterHelp. They are an online therapy platform, and I've worked with them before and it was great, so here I am working with them again. But I will dive more into the details of them later in the video, but I want to start off with some therapy horror stories, so let's dive in. So when I was around 13 years old, I was really depressed, and I thought that therapy would be a good idea. My mom didn't know, I think, a whole lot about getting a therapy provider, so she just took me to her old therapist, who is now kind of a friend. The first thing that I hated about this therapist was the fact that she would constantly make reference to my sparkly pink tool belt. This tool belt was where I put all the tools that I learned in therapy. My sparkly pink tool belt, that's where I put them. Now I'm a pretty straightforward and serious person. I was 13, you know, like I was kind of beyond the sparkly pink tool belt phase, I think. I think that better suits like a 6-year-old maybe. But yeah, so whenever she would reference my sparkly pink tool belt, I was like, this is ridiculous. Am I 5? Like, drove me up the wall. Drove me up the wall. And like, I was 13, I wasn't gonna speak up and say something. I was just like, okay, you know. So second thing about my first therapist is that she was not good at getting stuff out of me. No, I will say I'm kind of a tough nut to crack. I am not good at therapy. I need more practice with it, I think. I don't know how to lead a session. I don't know what I want to talk about when I'm there. Like, I knew I was really depressed, but I didn't know what to talk about, you know? So, she wasn't very good at pulling things out of me. So a few sessions in, she decided she could not see me anymore. And you know why that was? It was because she started developing motherly feelings towards me, and that's not appropriate. I think it's called countertransference when that happens, and I mean, I guess it's common enough that they have a name for it, but I was so weirded out by that. I was like, ew, you feel like you're my mom? Like, just because I'm telling you my problems? Like, what? So I thought that was super weird, and it made me uncomfortable, and so I was like, yeah, we should end this. So when she stopped seeing me, she made a referral for me to somebody else in the practice, and I started to see them. And this woman was supposed to be good at like the tough cases, like the ones who were like hard to crack open and stuff like that, like me. However, each time that I saw her, she just said how tough it was to crack me open, what a like tough cookie I was or something like that. I don't know. Like, just basically making me feel even more closed off, because she was saying how closed off I was, and I'm like, I don't know how to be more open. I don't know how to do this therapy thing, you know? So it was just really like uncomfortable. Like, it made me feel bad, like made me feel like I wasn't good at therapy and stuff. So I just decided to stop seeing her. So fast forward like 3 or 4 years, I don't exactly remember. I was still depressed, and I was struggling with an eating disorder. Now, my parents figured out that I had an eating disorder because my mom caught me throwing up. Oops. And so they basically demanded that I go to therapy. So I said, okay, I'll go to therapy, but I will not talk about my problems with you guys. You guys being my parents, because for some reason I've just always felt like I needed to protect them from my problems. I didn't want to be a burden, and I just wasn't comfortable sharing my problems with them. So they're like, okay, fine, you can go to therapy by yourself. Cool. So we make an appointment at the local mental hospital with the best eating disorder therapist in the facility. The first session, me, my mom, and my dad were there. I was fine with that because, you know, like, we were just sharing some information, kind of getting things started. I wasn't too worried about it. When the session commenced, we all talked for a little while, and then she had my parents leave the room. So then I just talked one-on-one with her, and I was like, yeah, I'm really not comfortable talking about my problems when my parents are here. Makes me uncomfortable, like I just can't open up around them, stuff like that. Like I made it very clear that I was not comfortable talking about my issues with my parents there. She was all understanding. She was like, yeah, okay, I understand that. Okay, yeah, for sure. And then when my parents came back into the room, that therapist gave their recommendation. Her recommendation was that we do family therapy. And I'm like, what? What? Like I just told you, and you just like heard me say that I didn't want to do family therapy, and then you recommend family therapy? Like, what? What? So I was just floored. I was irritated. I didn't even know what to say. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And my parents, even though they also agreed to not be in the room when I was talking about my problems, they also agreed, okay, she recommends family therapy, we'll do family therapy. And I was like, no. And they're like, And so I was like, you know what I mean? At that point, I wanted to quit seeing that therapist because she recommended something that I was completely uncomfortable with, and my parents didn't seem to care, she didn't seem to care, and I was just really pissed off. But I was forced to go by my parents. I lived under their roof, you know, like I had to go. So I went until we ran out of insurance benefits to cover therapy. So it was probably like a dozen sessions or something. I went and I sat there. Did I contribute to the session? No. Did I gain anything from it? No. In fact, the last session that I was supposed to go to, I went home after school and I took a nap, and I thought I set an alarm, but I guess I didn't, and I swear it was not intentional, but God was on my side apparently. And I didn't wake up to an alarm, so I missed the last session, and it was great, and I was like, ha, fuck you guys, you know what I mean? So yeah, so that therapy experience was also bad. I gained nothing from it because I was uncomfortable. I was too uncomfortable to talk about my problems. So yeah, that was bad. After that, in the next few years, I saw another therapist or two, but like I said earlier, I'm a tough nut to crack, I guess. Like I just wasn't ever able to get a whole lot out of therapy. Like I never really gained much from it. Like I might have learned some coping skills and stuff, but I just didn't know how to do therapy. So this past summer of 2020, I was struggling with my eating disorder again. I was admitted into a partial hospitalization program, which basically just meant that I went there for the entire day, had all my meals there, and then went home at night, and I did a night snack by myself. But I went to that program for 10 days. I should have been there for like 6 to 8 weeks, but my insurance only covered 10 days, and even with insurance covering it, it still cost me like $4,000 for those 10 days. Insane. Anyways, yeah, so there I got a therapist that I got to meet with like 2 or 3 times, but she was so great. She was young, she was knowledgeable about eating disorders and body dysmorphia and all that stuff, and she just knew what she was talking about, and I finally felt like I found a therapist who I was gonna gain something from. I was so excited to have like clicked with her and stuff, and then my 10 days ran up, and I was never gonna get to see her again because she doesn't do outpatient therapy. She just does that inpatient stuff. So that was a huge bummer because I finally found a therapist that I liked, that I felt like I was gonna learn from and stuff. And when I had to leave that partial hospitalization program, when my 10 days were up, they sent me out with a list of therapists who were covered by my insurance. However, it happened that there were a bunch of like repeats on that list, and some of them didn't focus on just eating disorders. Like I wanted someone whose like biggest focus was eating disorders, but the people who did focus mainly on eating disorders either had no availability right now, like weren't taking on new patients, or they weren't actually under my insurance, or they didn't take insurance at all. Now, either after my partial hospitalization or before it, I'm like trying to think, and I can't remember if it was before or after that, I saw a different therapist. Now, this was a horrible experience that I had with this therapist. So my first session went okay. We talked, I was kind of explaining everything that was going on and stuff. And then my second session comes around and we're talking for like a half an hour, and then I kind of run out of things to say. Like I didn't know what to say, and I was hoping that she would sort of start leading the session a little more. Like I hoped she would realize that I didn't know what to say and kind of pull it out of me and stuff like that, you know, like lead the session, do her job. But instead, once we like hit the half-hour mark of talking and kind of ran out of things to talk about, I didn't say anything else, and then she didn't say anything else. And at first she was writing down notes on her notepad, so I'm like, okay, she's writing stuff about me, fine. Then she started typing on her laptop, and she was like looking between the notepad and the laptop, so I'm like, okay, she's probably just copying that stuff onto like Word document or something. And then she just stopped looking at the notepad completely, and she would just type in and type in and type in, like for the rest of the like 20 or 30 minutes of the session. She said nothing to me. She didn't even look at me. Like, it was just silence. We just sat there in silence for a half an hour, and that whole time I was feeling miserable, and I was trying to make that apparent in my appearance. Like I was trying to look miserable so she'd know that I wasn't okay with how the session was going, because for some reason I just wasn't able to speak up for myself. I just didn't know what to say because I felt like it was my fault that the session was going the way it was. Like I thought it was my fault, so I didn't know what to say. But we just sat there in silence for the last half hour of the session, and it made me feel like crap. Clearly I did not gain anything from that experience, and clearly I did not go back to see that therapist again. So yeah, I did file a complaint about that therapist at the practice she works at. The woman I contacted thought that was really out of character for that therapist, but I mean, I don't know, it happened. So yeah, so that is my experience with therapy. It has been pretty bad. I've had one good experience that was then ripped away from me after 10 days. So, that was a shame for sure. That all said, like I said, I have not given up on therapy. Therapy can still work, and I know it does work for millions and millions of people. So I don't want you to think that just because I've had bad experiences that you'll have bad experiences. I share these stories because I want to share what my experience has been. I don't know, I want to get it off my chest. So I was sharing it with you guys. But therapy isn't all bad, and there is hope. So like I mentioned earlier, this video is sponsored by BetterHelp, which is an online therapy platform. I want to ask you guys a question. Are you okay? Are you struggling? Are things fine, but maybe you just want to keep learning tools on how to live life? Okay, well, I think that BetterHelp could be a great place to start that journey. BetterHelp is a secure online therapy platform. It's not a crisis line, and it's not a self-help platform. BetterHelp can match you with a licensed therapist who specializes in whatever you're struggling with. Like I mentioned, it's been really hard for me to find an eating disorder therapist in my area. But I bet if I went on BetterHelp, I would find a therapist who specializes in eating disorders. I bet I would find a lot of therapists who specialize in eating disorders. BetterHelp does their best to find you a good match, but if you match with a therapist and then it doesn't work out, you can try another one. You're not stuck with a single therapist. It's so much easier to switch between therapists when you're doing it online than if you were doing it in person. BetterHelp is available worldwide, which is great because I've got followers from all over the place. And if you need help, it's not just a US thing, it is everywhere. You can message your counselor at any time, and you can meet with them once a week via phone call or like a video call. BetterHelp is more affordable than typical in-person counseling, and there is financial aid available. I'm gonna leave my special link to BetterHelp down in the description. If you follow that link and sign up, you will get 10% off your first month. So if you're not sure if online therapy is for you, you can try it out cheaper than you would typically be able to, which is great. But I just want to sum all this up by saying therapy is crazy. You are giving your life to another person and asking them to help you with it. You might not find your match right away. Like I haven't found my match right away. that's fine, you know? You've got to look for your match, but if you try a service like BetterHelp, you are so likely to find a good match, and the reason for that is because there are countless therapists at your fingertips. It's insane. It's amazing. And so I just want to say, if you're looking to try therapy, especially in this time of COVID, online therapy might be a good option for you. So if you're interested in it, if you want to give it a try, 10% off your first month, amazing. Follow my link down in the description and you can give it a shot. But all that said, I just want to leave you with a little video demo of how to sign up in case you're interested. So I'm going to insert that here as soon as I say goodbye. So yeah. So thank you guys for watching. I hope this video was entertaining for you. I hope that maybe it's given you a little bit of hope with the whole BetterHelp aspect out there. But yeah, so here is how to sign up if you're interested. Yeah, so have a good one. Bye.